And it was approximately 6 in the evening. And if you're on the summit, you think, okay, now the gold medal is there. It's just a matter of routine to go back. So you have your party on the summit, you make your pictures, and then you go back. But I can tell you, the expedition was starting from that moment. And can you imagine, you gave everything, you're completely exhausted, and you are thinking, okay, we have just put clicking into the lines, follow the lines, and finally we should be back around 1:30 in the night in Camp 4. But what I already said, actually the expedition was beginning from that moment. The first part, it went according to plan. We were going down, finding the ropes. But when we were in the neighborhood of the bottleneck, we couldn't find the ropes anymore. And that's really strange because nobody is getting away these ropes. So you think the ropes must be somewhere. We are not at the right spot. We have to go to the left or to the right. And in the beginning, you're discussing and you said, okay, let's go to the left. Now you go to the left, you find not the ropes again. You go to the right, again, no ropes. And to make a long story a little bit shorter, finally you will see that the whole team is falling apart because people think, I know for sure that it's going to the left. And the other guy said, I know for sure it's going to the other side. And then again, there were no ropes. And it's getting dark. People are exhausted. It's getting late. People are going to take more risks. And that's why people fell over the edge. The first accident happened. I was with two climbers, one of my team, Ger Mac Donnell, and an Italian climber, Marco Confortola. And we decided to make a bivouac. And it sounds romantic, but at that altitude, 8,300 meters, but we knew that the weather should stay. That were the promises, and that was also what happened. It was the most beautiful weather actually in the night. So we survived the night without drinking, without food, etc. And in the morning, with the first sunshine, we started again to find the ropes again. But again, no ropes to find. And the information I'm giving you right now, we didn't have, was that the ropes were destroyed by falling ice seracs, but nobody have ever seen or heard falling seracs. Can you imagine? Not in the base camp and not on the summit.
Wow.
And that's to imagine this mountain is so big that if you are on the summit and you have beneath you this bottleneck and ice is falling over there, you don't hear the sound. It's too far beneath you. And from the base camp, it's too far high up the mountain. So, or you had to look at with binoculars all the time, but otherwise you won't see it. So you come in a new situation. And if you are relying on your, on the past, I am raised from my mother's side that she said always, if you can't find something, you have to look better and finally you will find it. But in this case, it wasn't there. And how long do you have to search before you say, okay, now I'm done with it. Now I'm going straight down. And that was what's happening the next time when the sun was rising. We were start looking all over again with Marco and Gerard. And then finally I got snow blindness because you are much too long at altitude without drinking, without food, etc. And that was the moment I realized I have to go down at once immediately. It to be or not to be. And I went down without any discussion. And the people were probably thinking, what is he doing? Because you can't go down there, but I didn't have an option anymore. And then I was trapped. I couldn't go down anymore. It was too steep. It was in the meantime, it got covered with the clouds, etc. So it was really scary. And at that moment, I was thinking, now this is the end. And I took my telephone. I found at home where my wife was with a boy of 5 months old. And she tried to inspire me that I had to hold on and that this couldn't be the end, etc., etc. But of course, we had to make this phone call short because otherwise the battery is empty. So I said to her, okay, I will call you back in 24 hours, which is very simple because 2 hours later it can be done. But okay, I hang up and then I should follow my way. But I was so exhausted that finally I lost consciousness. And that's actually where life is ending, you think. And that was what I thought. But after a while, and I couldn't tell you how long it have happened, but after 30 minutes, which later on I could see from my watch because it was registrating every 15 minutes. And I found out that I was only passed away or unconscious for half an hour. And I woke up again and I followed my way, and it was not an easy way, of course. And it took a whole day before I was successful in going down a little bit till approximately, say, 7,700 meters or something. But I didn't recognize anything. I was really completely lost on the mountains. And later I found out that I took another route actually. So I skipped Camp 4. I've never seen or found Camp 4 ever in my life. But finally I was finding Camp 3, and my mate was still in Camp 3. And he got a phone call from the base camp that an orange dot was moving on the mountain. And probably they knew that it was me. So they waited, and finally we met again, and we were crying and saying to each other that we were thinking that we never would see each other again. So it was a complete miracle, of course, that I had the luck that I was waking up. And in my opinion, I had the luck that I was a daddy, and my boy was crying. My wife was telling later on. And if you put the timelines together, it's the moment that I wake up was actually the moment that my boy also was crying like hell, while he was a really quiet baby child. So my wife was really telling me later that she said, at that moment, I realized that it looks like that he was saying goodbye to you or something. Because in the mind of my wife, she had already took the decision that I couldn't come back anymore. So it's a really astonishing story, and you can give words to it, but it's hardly to comprehend what actually happened in these moments. But of course, I was happy to go to come down from this mountain, and of course, I had frozen my toes, and they are not there anymore. But that was the time that I also, for the first time, that a lot of other boys and people, and even my teammates, Ger Mac Donnell, was not surviving this expedition. So you can understand that losing your toes is maybe not so nice. But if you realize that so many were lost in this tragedy, you can imagine that I was a really, really happy guy.
Wow. That is absolutely incredible to believe. Just trying to put yourself, or like I'm trying to put myself into that situation, and just like mentally walking through what you have done. So from that moment that you're on K2, you lose the ropes, then you lose consciousness, you get blind, you start wandering off, which is, you shouldn't do that, but you have no other option. You just need to go, instincts kick in, and it's almost at a place, and then you actually go unconscious, where you think you have died, and you kind of feel like, oh wow, I'm back alive, but I'm still on that mountain. So I think people have this idea that people go unconscious and then they wake up in a hospital, but you woke up and you haven't moved. You're still on the mountain, like nothing has changed. You're still in that situation, and then making this phone call and realizing, yeah, I'm way closer to death right now than to life. And
yeah, that's absolutely true. And you are living only in the moment. You're not thinking at the past. You're not thinking in the future. The only thing, what was bothering me, for example, that I was so thirsty that it was so painful that the only thing which was in my mind was that I need water, I need water, I need water. And I was constantly talking or saying to myself, you're almost there, you're almost there. And now, with full of consciousness, I realized that it was a fuck up, because I had to do, I don't know, 1, 2, 3,000 meters going down, still down before there was water. But it's the survival instinct, I guess, that we are operating like that. So for me, it's really hard to give words to it. But for me, it's an example that people are capable in more than you think. Also, you are, because when you should have told me this before the expedition, probably I would have said, no, that's not possible. You can't survive 3 days in the dead zone without water, etc., with minus 30, etc. But here I am. And I think every human being is a unique DNA material person. So how can we talk about averages and if he can do it, then for me it's the same? No, it's not the same. But even you, everybody should believe that there is more possible. And of course, giving up is also a possible option. But I think if you have the faith, and for me, of course, it was my newborn son. But if you have the faith in whatever it is, in difficult situations, it can be the difference between life and death.
How did you feel afterwards, after you had time to digest, you were out of base camp, and actually having that experience of having died? And previously, a bit as a joke, you've said with your friends, well, we're going to die young. And then you were so close to it, but you kind of died, but you didn't die. How did that change you?
Yeah, what for me, what most of the important of the hardest things was I survived on this expedition, and in all our team, also one guy died. It was Ger Mac Donnell, our team member from Ireland. He was living in the States, but he died not just by a stupid avalanche. We were researching after this expedition, of course, what actually happened with all these guys who died, and all those guys were not killed in one stupid avalanche. Actually, they passed away. 11 people were killed on the mountain on 11 different moments by 11 different situations, actually. So one was killed, then after a while, another was killed. So, and Gerard, especially Ger, has tried to save somebody else's life. He was hanging in the ropes. Actually, more, 2 people. I had to go along these guys because I was surviving by myself, half snowblind. But finally, Marco and Gerard were taking the same route as I was taking, because they were thinking he's not coming back, so maybe he has found the right route. So they were also going this line, and finally there were 3 people hanging in the rope who were strangled over each other, and it was a whole mess of ropes. But finally, I had passed them, and Ger, this our team member, and Marco, this Italian mountain guide, they tried to save these guys, and finally it was not successful. So Mark was descending, and Gerard was still thinking, I can save 1 or 2 lives, and he was trying till the end. And probably he has got 2 or at least 1 climber loose from the rope, and he was going down with this guy. And in a 3rd or maybe in a 4th avalanche, finally they were also hit and killed by these falling seracs. Yeah, and for me, what a symbol is this? So that you try to save somebody's life, and finally you are killed by yourself, and
Yeah.
you asking yourself, why I'm sitting here, and why was he killed? Because he was doing the right thing. But life is so complicated that the only thing I can try to do is give him the credits, and never forget that what he was trying to do in his life, that maybe all what I do in my life is can't never get so close with in doing something good, for the world. So how old you are or how old you become, for me, it's not so important. For me, it's more important the things you are doing in your life. And for me, he did the biggest thing and the most admirable thing you can ever imagine.
Wow, it's really incredible. Also, I think how you talk about it, to understand that, yeah, that's just something that happened now in your life, and you need to accept that. And there's only so much use in reliving and asking the what if. Of course, you could. What if somebody had done something different? But I guess in that mountain, in this situation, it's such a big blur. And as you said, it's so complicated to do the right thing, and knowing what even could the right thing be. So I think it's a very, very interesting reflection from you, that you say, like this has just happened the way it has happened, and the best you can do is honor that person now.
Yeah, and on the other hand, for me, he is actually not dead. It sounds a little bit stupid, but I have also another team member which I was skiing to the South Pole. It was a 2-man expedition also, and this guy is also passed away by a horrific accident on the North Pole. But these guys, they were so important in my life that still one is sitting on my left shoulder and the other is sitting on my right shoulder. And they giving me still the advices, and they are smiling at me when I try to get their energy to, to do the good things, because that's what they try to do. And that's the way I honor them. And I'm happy that I'm not alone. So we try to have a small community with people who have known these guys very well. And every year we remember the day they passed away, and it's the 2nd of August. It's just passed a few days ago, but the 2nd of August is every year again a really special moment, because we will never forget what happened in that night.
Yeah, I think it's really wonderful to keep that memory alive and even think of them as still being there.
Yes, especially with family. If you were not there, it's hardly to understand. And all the things which are written and the books which are written about this expedition. I've of course, I wrote my book myself. But if I read a lot of other books which are written about this expedition, I really start puking, because they were not there and they have all an opinion, and they didn't know the guys. And that's which is not the way, I think, how to deal with these kind of stories.